Congratulations, gentlemen, for a fairly good performance in FY14. I'm going to come to you first, Chandra. Take us through your expectations for FY15. You're expecting a growth of 13 to 15%. Is there a possibility of, hiking this guidance going forward, and where is this confidence coming from?
I think the projection of 13 to 15% is based on the overall positive outlook which was outlined in today's press conference, and a number of factors which contribute to that optimism, namely the growth patterns in the US economy, the growth pattern in the global GDP, etc. Also the rise in global IT spend, and the rise in global sourcing as a percentage of that. In fact, it's growing at twice the rate at which IT spend is growing. But a question is sometimes asked as to why then, if all these factors are positive, why isn't the percentage being
gone
projected
up? Because
much
some people
higher?
were expecting almost 16 to 17% this time.
Well, I think you have to bear in mind two factors. We are talking about a percentage growth year on year, and as the base gets larger, then obviously even to maintain the same percentage becomes more difficult. We all know that the IT industry has witnessed periods when it grew as much as 40 to 50% year on year, but that was on a much smaller base. So as the base gets larger, even to maintain the same pace becomes difficult. So here we are talking about a percentage, the upper range of which could actually result in an absolute growth of 50% more than the previous year. It could be as much as $15 billion. Now, $15 billion growth against $10 billion growth is a 50% increase. So percentages, I think, have their own way of telling the story. But we need to keep in mind that our base is getting larger, and in spite of the base getting larger, we are still actually not only growing, but growing at an even faster pace in percentage terms. I think that's a big positive.
KK, I'm going to ask you about the challenges. As you said, domestic has been challenging in FY14. For FY15, what are the issues when it comes to domestic spending? How are you working towards conquering it? And aside from domestic, how much of an issue is US government policies, the immigration bill, a concern for you? Is there a possibility that it could hinder your performance, IT industry's performance for FY15?
See, clearly the guidance of 13 to 15%, like Shekhar said, is certainly, I think, aspirational, and I think the realistic sort of number. And issues like the US immigration have been factored into it. So I think right now, with the dialogue which is ongoing, we do believe many of the negative provisions are not there anymore. So it does not have any headwind for the industry for FY15 in terms of the numbers which are projected. On the domestic front, obviously there's been challenges with slow decision making, and I think that will continue well into some part of this financial or FY15 financial year because of the elections. But what we do anticipate is, I think clearly at Nasscom, we've got a very articulated approach of saying that we want to use our experience and expertise to help technology deliver an impact on several segments in India. And that itself is going to drive a certain sense of demand. So we've already started the dialogue process with a number of key constituents, where we are really playing the role of getting together all the stakeholders so that we deliver a visible business impact for that segment. So all of that will certainly lead to a more healthy demand, part of which may be felt in FY15. But beyond FY15, I think clearly some of the key initiatives which Nasscom is taking will positively impact the domestic spending.
How much of a role will the elections play? Of course, as you said, it will be slightly tepid going forward, but once the elections are done, is it possible to possibly up your guidance for the domestic sector? I'll come to you one by one on that, because this is an important thing that we
No, it's sort of very difficult because the permutation, combination, or what the outcome of the elections are so numerous. It's very difficult to say that this is going to be the sort of outcome of that. So at this point in time, hopefully, I think we are all working on a positive mindset that once the elections are over, because I think at the ground level, I think there is a tremendous swell and people understand how technology is helping them deliver better services to citizens or improving the way in which they operate. So I think it's purely the decision-making sort of ecosystem, which once there's certainty on it, I think certainly you'll see demand picking up.
Okay, from the Indian government to the US government, Chandra, how you have, of course, been having conversations with the US government. How receptive have they been to the kind of recommendations that have been laid out by Nasscom and by other lobbying bodies? Because I believe you have been working in tandem with other lobbying bodies as well.
Well, I think that there has been a certain amount of receptivity, certain degree of receptivity to the various points that we have put across, particularly in respect of the implications that these provisions would have for the competitiveness of US companies and for the competitiveness of the US economy in general, and also the fact that the situation which exists insofar as STEM availability and employment is concerned. And I think that the immigration bill itself also envisages a significant enhancement in the total number of visas to be given. So I think all of these aspects certainly are receiving attention, and we are quite hopeful that some of the more negative provisions that were seen in the Senate bill would not finally find their way into law.
Okay, so you're confident about the conversations you are having with the government that the Senate version will not, or the negative provisions will not be taken in?
We remain hopeful that the points that we have put across would actually have got some resonance, and that some of the more negative provisions would perhaps get moderated.
So cautiously optimistic is the tone that you're using right now. Okay, KK, let me ask you about what I found very interesting about the total contract value that you were talking about. Average contract value, sorry, has gone up by around 20% for FY14. Where is the hike coming in from? And for FY15, where are the significant uptick that you're expecting, specifically to the individual average contract value?
Again, that number was the revenue realized per client.
Sure.
So it's gone up by about 27% over the last 4 years, which in a way is reflective more in terms of the approaches which companies have done to focus on a few segments, understand the clients better, and really help leverage technology to solve a business problem. So that foundation of customer centricity which Indian organizations really are leading with, I think that's going to continue to help them even leverage some of the new disruptive technologies like SMAC in the context of the business. So when we talk in terms of enterprises and digital transformation being a key area of spend, it is based really on the premise that we not only understand the technology, but we understand the customer's business so that we'll be able to really find the right solution for the right problem. And that in turn will drive revenues.
Okay. So my last question to the two of you. Chandra, it's your first Nasscom India Leadership Forum. How positive are you about the kind of dialogue that you're expecting to have with customers? Because of course this is just a platform to talk to customers, to talk to individual delegations. How bullish are you about the next 3 days and how significant it will be for the Indian IT industry for the next 1 year?
I think I'm extremely bullish because as the theme of the event is on the digital enterprise. And as we had seen a little earlier, the major area of growth and opportunity, both in the global arena as well as in the domestic market, is on the new technologies, social, mobile, cloud and big data and data analytics. And how it is transforming enterprises, it's transforming governance, it's transforming every single field of endeavor. So the interest in this is very high, and the theme is one which I think captures that particular moment. And as people understand the enormity of both the challenge and the opportunities and grapple with the issues of transition and begin to understand the ability of the Indian industry to actually help them to make that transition, I think it's a conversation which would be extremely valuable and useful for everybody.
Okay, KK, same question to you. How bullish are you about NILS 2014?
See, if you look at the profile of participants in NILF, 30 CEOs, 35 CIOs from global corporation, that itself is reflective of the stature which NILF has got in a global market today. But more than that, I think the conversations with these people is not in terms of saying, hey, we want to do this, how can you support us? But the conversation is saying, we want to change our business. How can we together do it? So the whole notion of co-creation is really the conversation, which to me is very exciting because we are no more just saying we are audit taking, but we are really trying to craft the next generation digital enterprises, which will change the way in which our customers compete. I think that's exciting.